Hey, it's Paul. In the late 1890s, the famous American newspaper publicist William Randolph Hearst first coined the phrase, "If it bleeds, it leads," to reflect the tendency of news media to prioritize stories involving violence or tragedy to attract viewers' attention. Does this sound familiar to you? How does a phrase like this, a full 130 years later, still hold merit now more than ever? Today, I'm going to talk about how to examine your consumption of media to see if you're getting too riled up, too upset at today's news and social media posts to the point where it may be ruining your physical and mental health. Maybe scrolling on sites produce feelings like frustration, irritation, anger, or even fear, anxiety, or worry. I'd like to suggest 3 ways to get a better handle over this. Look, I'm not trying to be your dad and tell you to get off social media, stop reading 24-hour news feeds, but let's be real. There are definite things going on in social media, in 24-hour news, that you ought to know. And then you, armed with this info, can make an informed and educated decision about what you consume. Sound good? Okay, let's do this. Okay, just a few facts from studies, and I'll have links in the description below. Anxiety can increase after consuming just 14 minutes of news, especially if it's negative news. Headlines or thumbnails, if it contains more negative words, it weirdly gets higher click-through rates, CTRs. Conversely, headlines and thumbnails with positive words, they get less CTRs. So words like joy get less clicks, while words like sadness gets more. Crazy, right? Other studies show that of those who follow the news on a regular basis, more than half of them claimed that it gave them stress. There's also this thing that happens to all of us. We're scrolling our social media feed and an unsolicited news story pops up that catches us off guard. It's called incidental exposure. It's basically designed to jam us with negative, emotionally charged, or shocking posts to get us to click like or respond with an emotional comment or repost. The truth is, negative headlines play on our emotions, which is why it pushes engagement so powerfully. Another story said that emotionally based stories are 22 times more memorable than fact-based stories. Think about that video with the dog getting rescued by the side of the road, or the dad soldier returning home unexpectedly from duty. You know, these stories really move us, both in the positive, but some in the negative. William Randolph Hearst's phrase ultimately changed from "if it bleeds, it leads" to "if it burns, it earns." And this is where social media and 24-hour news purposely put out intentionally negative, shocking posts or stories, and guess what? They get more likes and shares and subs. What the hell? And although this channel is not political, can't we all see how the political landscape has devolved into emotional, heart-tugging stories meant to champion our guy while demeaning, marginalizing, and dehumanizing the other guy? Let's be real. We've all gotten sucked into this in one way or another. This may seem controversial, but I believe that social media and the 24-hour news, they've been successful in driving this country apart, to make us a more politically divided society when we end up vehemently defending our guy while vilifying the other guy. As a result, we are less and less willing to consider points, views, ideas from the other guys. When really, we are a society of very rational, mostly center-right, center-left people. Don't let them win, folks. You are better, smarter, and more discerning than to be manipulated by these nameless, faceless newscasters and content creators. So you may be asking, so what do we do, Paul? 3 things. First of all, I want you to think about that one guy or gal in your life. You know the one. They can't wait to breathlessly inform you about the latest dumpster fire that's happening in their personal life or in geopolitics in general. They're the first to inform you of a breaking story that's going to be life-changing and devastating. This person could be your coworker, your friend, your relative. I bet you can think of them right now. What is the smart way to deal with them? You know historically, whenever you get into it with them, it ends up being a disagreement, a frustrating conversation, sometimes an argument. So what do? We avoid them. We minimize contact. We leave the conversation, leave that person alone. Now, does that make us unfeeling jerks? No. We're making sound decisions to reduce contact with people who are negative, who bring us down, who put us in a bad mood. It's healthy to reduce contact with negative people. So you know where I'm going with this. So if it's healthy to reduce contact with negative people, it's healthy to reduce contact with negative social media and 24-hour news. Now, I'm not advocating for living under a rock. There's a lot going on geopolitically these days, scary things. But I still think you can remain an informed person but manage your intake of social media and 24-hour news completely on your terms. So, your first task is limiting the time you consume social media and 24-hour news. If you find yourself getting upset at what you're reading or watching, well, that's your cue to take a step back, despite pressure to keep engaged. It's like when you see an accident on the side of the road. You're going to slow down, and you're going to check it out, and you're going to take it all in, but just glance and go. If you tend to get worked up, don't consume in the morning or right before bed. You'll end up ruminating or ruining your night's sleep. Maybe limit your time scrolling to your lunch break. Oh, and get rid of all notifications. You'll end up viscerally reacting to every chirp, bell, or ring and end up in another negative, adrenaline-inducing rabbit hole. You might even consider, gasp, taking small breaks away from all of it. Ah! Now I'm just talking crazy talk, right? I'm just putting it out there. Number 2, without being political, can we all agree that there's bias in most news sources as well as people who post on social media? Nowadays, trust with media outlets, usually with 3 letters in them, are at an all-time low, even lower than Congress and the president. That's pretty low and pretty damning, but it's also good in that it reflects that most of us already know, regardless of political party affiliation, that most news reporting has an agenda. We just have to be mindful of that when choosing to consume that story. I think we've all learned what clickbait is the hard way. We see a sensationalist thumbnail or headline and we eagerly click it only to be disappointed that it wasn't what it portrayed itself to be. We learn to not click on clickbait. So why can't we be just as cautious, even suspicious, about all thumbnails, all headlines? It's all the same micro billboards vying for our attention, begging you to click on them. Stop doing it. Don't let them manipulate you. 3, and this is the most important, you already have the knowledge to steer clear of that guy who's always spouting the sensationalist headlines of the minute. You've already learned how to avoid clickbait. You intellectually can recognize sensationalist headlines and emotion-eliciting thumbnails, but you click on them anyway. So now, your task is to figure out how you get roped into these in the first place. Ask yourself, what is it about these headlines and thumbnails that get me to click? Are you clicking on negative stories because it fits with a negative view you already have? I wonder if this is the source of the phrase doom scrolling. Maybe you enjoy seeing the other guy get justice or get embarrassed. Maybe you secretly are amused at the misfortune of others. Maybe you want evidence that your crew, your people, are winning the good fight, so you seek validation. Whatever the reason, you're still in full control over what and how much you consume, just like food. By being more mindful of how these thumbnails and headlines pull at you, you can begin to consciously make better choices and not click on each tempting one. This third goal is really about developing discernment, The ability to discern messages like, hey, look here, shiny object, you got to hear about this, versus sober, somber recitation of real news without an ulterior motive or agenda. It's about making better choices. So the 3 suggestions again are: limit your time consuming social media and news, particularly if doing so will affect your work or your sleep. 2, acknowledge that bias, secondary gain, and ulterior motives and agendas are part of news and social media messaging. 3, exercise discernment in what you consume and avoid topics, thumbnails, headlines that are emotionally charged. I call it having your BS detector up and calibrated before you start. I hope these ideas resonate with you, and if so, or if not, please leave your comments below. I didn't even touch on how scrolling increases endorphins and dopamine, but that will be a topic for another video. So this is a new channel, so I want to hear your feedback so that I can not only get better, but also get new ideas about future videos. So let's hear from you, please and thank you. My name is Paul, by the way, and this channel, Paul's Simple Psych, is where I share concepts that arise in therapy sessions, and I share them with you in the hopes that it will help you in your journey moving forward. If you like this video, you like this kind of content, please give the channel some love, and I'll see you on the next one. Take care. Peace.